There is no feat in Jujutsu Kaisen quite like Domain Expansion. It's the pinnacle of Jujutsu sorcery, and for that reason there's only a select few talented enough to pull it off. Even someone like Nanami can't do it. And so there are currently 15 in total that we know of, and some of them are absolutely crazy, such as Hakaris, or potentially game-breaking in the case of Yuta's. And so today we're going to break down each one and rank them in a tier list as we go. So let's see who we're starting with. Gojo. His domain is called Coffin of the Iron Mountain. The inside of this domain resembles the inside of an active volcano. Pretty fitting, as Gojo is humanity's fear of fire and volcanoes. The burning hot magma spewing from its walls are so fierce that the average Jujutsu sorcerer would combust the second they entered the domain. Now, like most, Gojo's has its own sure hit attack. He can command molten rocks that extend from the environment to hit their opponent. Unfortunately for Gojo though, the only time we saw him use it was against the strongest sorcerer of them all, Satoru Gojo, so it was kind of pointless. Because of this, he didn't even bother using it against Sukuna, as he knew it'd be a waste of time against him as well. Despite this, it's still a super powerful domain that would instantly kill any sorcerer that wasn't already in the top percentage of power, and for that reason Gojo's Coffin of the Iron Mountain can sit in A tier. Okay, next up is Megami Fushigoro's Chimera Shadow Garden. While still incomplete, this domain floods the area with thick fluid shadows, trapping its target inside. This gives Megami the ability to manifest multiple Shikigami, as well as the ability to control all available shadows. What's more is that he can create literal shadow clones of the Shikigami or himself as well. Anyone unlucky enough to be caught in the shadows must reinforce their feat with cursed energy or risk falling into the abyss. If you do end up falling in, then GG, you're stuck falling for the rest of your life. Unfortunately though, Megami isn't quite experienced enough with his domain yet to generate a sure hit attack. However, it does power up his 10 Shadows technique to 120% power. It also allowed Megami to break in and enter another domain expansion, that being Dagon's. That still doesn't change the fact though that Megami's lack of experience means we've never seen what this domain is truly capable of. Nonetheless, the potential is there, so I think C is a fair spot for now. Swiftly moving on, we've got Dagon's Horizon of the Captivating Skandha. Now, other than being an incredible place to go on holiday, hence why the Disaster Curses had so much fun there, it's also extremely deadly. Dagon casts this calm domain expansion when he forms a seal on his stomach, creating a tropical beach that has a forest of palm trees on one half and the seaside on the other. However, what makes it scary is its sure hit attack. With it, Dagon can summon Shikigami that are completely invisible until the moment they bite you. This makes them nigh on impossible to dodge. With it, he took on Nanami, Maki, and now Obito until Megami broke in, letting Toji loose where Dagon met his end. And so where does this beautiful beach sit on our list? Well, I think I'm gonna have to put it in C tier. Alright, coming up next on our list of domain expansions, we have Satoru Gojo's Unlimited Void. This brings the user and their targets inside the Limitless itself, a vast void of infinite knowledge. From here, an endless amount of raw information floods into the target's mind, overwhelming them to the point where they're completely immobilized. As Gojo himself puts it, it gives the user everything, leaving them with nothing. All the actions the target has taken in their life is forced upon them infinitely, and they can't do anything about it but die slowly. Only those in direct contact with Gojo are immune to its attacks once they're inside the domain. Because of this, Nanami considered Unlimited Void an almost guaranteed win once the target was inside. For this very reason, Kenjaku devised a plan to keep Gojo confined to the Shibuya underground surrounded by civilians as a means to stop him using it. Unfortunately for them though, Gojo is that guy. Based on pure instinct alone, Gojo summoned Unlimited Void for just 0.2 seconds. This was enough to instantly immobilize everyone in the area without causing any long-lasting damage to the civilians. Following this, he was able to go around and kill all of Mahito's transfigured humans in the 299 seconds they spent immobilized after his domain. Later, against Sukuna in Shinjuku, Gojo and him went head to head in a heated domain battle multiple times. However, as we will delve into a little later, Sukuna did find a way to deal with this OP domain. Nonetheless, Gojo managed to hit Sukuna with Unlimited Void, even if it was just for a moment, by casting it 0.01 seconds quicker than him. That was enough for Sukuna to be immobilized as he spent 10 seconds inside, causing enough brain damage to him to stop the King of Curses using his domain again. Now, any domain powerful enough to go up against Sukuna has to instantly go into S tier, okay? Let's be honest, there is no other place this domain belongs. Alrighty, moving on, we've got Hakaris' Idle Death Gamble. Hakari is super strong as it is already, being one of Gojo's most promising students. However, his domain expansion truly is one of a kind. It is based on a real pachinko machine where the user's goal is to hit the jackpot by lining up 3 of the same symbols decorated with the characters of Private Pure Love Train. What's insane is that when Hakari gets jackpot, he's immortal. He is given automatic RCT to heal himself as well as unlimited cursed energy for a total of 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Now, the odds of hitting jackpot is only a 1 in 239 chance of doing so, with all the rules of the game being transferred into the opponent's brain through the domain's sure hit attack. This process is harmless, and as a trade-off, the construction of this domain is extremely fast, activating in less than 0.2 seconds, making Idle Death Gamble very effective in a clash of domains. Once summoned, the players are placed on a neutral stage where Hakari can summon 3 different types of attacks: doors, reverse balls, and consecutive effects. Doors and balls are exclusively offensive abilities, whereas consecutive effects act as both defensive and offensive. This is because it reflects damage back onto Hakari's opponents. Each of these 3 things have different color schemes indicating the odds of hitting a jackpot, these being green, red, or gold, with the hidden 4th being rainbow, which is a guaranteed jackpot. Once Hakari summons one of these attacks, there's 4 different scenarios that can happen, where again, each one has a different chance of hitting the jackpot, with the final one being an 80% chance. The first and lowest chance jackpot depends on if Yuki, the main character of Private Pure Love Train, can get through the station gate and reach the train. The next event we currently have no information on, but do know it's only a moderate chance of hitting the jackpot. After this is a scenario in which a character named Hiro must reach his destination on the train without wetting himself, and then there's the final and highest chance event, which depends on if Yume boards her train or not. If she doesn't, Hakari hits jackpot. Should a jackpot not be hit, then it goes back to normal to try again, but the amount of total available spins is reduced. Thanks to having constant RCT during the jackpot state, Hakari can immediately cast his domain again once it's over. What's more is that the effects of the domain carry over into the next use. For example, if Hakari hits a jackpot on odd numbers, then it's easier to hit the jackpot again the next time. If it's even numbers, then the spins are faster the next turn. But there is one more final hidden effect. There is a random chance that when the domain is cast, it will activate a hidden probability to further increase the jackpot odds. Wow, this really is one of the most confusing domains in the entire show, if not the most confusing, so I do humbly apologize if I butchered it. For its placement though, I will stick it in A, because even though you can almost always beat someone with the speed of casting your domain, unless you're against the likes of Gojo and Sukuna, the fact that it all comes down to luck is extremely risky nonetheless. As they say though, always bet on Hakari. Okay, so moving on, let's see. We've got Mahoto's self-embodiment of perfection. This domain expansion is created by seals formed by tiny little hands inside Mahoto's mouth. This domain increases the effectiveness of Mahoto's idle transfiguration curse technique by allowing him to transfigure the souls of his targets within his domain without requiring physical contact like he normally would. He unlocked the ability to use this on the verge of death against Nanami and Yuji, using that moment as inspiration. Nanami likened the experience of being inside Mahoto's domain to literally being in the palm of Mahoto's hand. Thus, just like with Gojo's Unlimited Void, he said that self-embodiment of perfection is an almost guaranteed win for Mahoto if he gets you inside it. However, a major drawback of this ability is that Mahoto is forced to touch the souls of everyone inside the domain, which backfires hugely when Yuji entered from the outside, causing Mahoto to, albeit unintentionally, touch Sukuna Sukuna's soul, prompting the King of Curses to lash out at him and destroy his domain. On the lead up to Shibuya, after fixing Mekamaru's body, Mahito trapped him inside the domain. In spite of this, Mekamaru lived by using Simple Domain to negate Self-Embodiment of Perfection's effect and subsequently attacked Mahito. However, the curse just disbanded his domain to give up the illusion that he was dead, to then surprise Mekamaru with the killing blow. Mahito continued to evolve, however, after being inspired by Gojo and awakening a better understanding of cursed energy from landing a black flash on Yuji, where he learned how to activate his domain expansion for 0.2 seconds. He did this against Yuji and Todo, successfully using Idol Transfiguration on the latter. Thankfully though, Todo stopped the Idol Transfiguration, killing him by chopping off his arm before it could spread. Luckily for Mahito too, thanks to only being 0.2 seconds, he avoided being on the other end of an angry Sukuna. Now, as I said, had it not been for Yuji interfering, Mahito would have used his domain to kill Nanami sooner than he actually did. Nonetheless, due to certain circumstances, Nanami's statement of self-embodiment of perfection being a guaranteed win was never made a reality. Thus, I think A is a fair spot. Alright, so up next is the Pox Deity. Okay, this is a pretty quick one. This domain is a literal graveyard. Once trapped inside, the sure hit attack will automatically go for the enemy with the highest cursed energy output. It will then trap them inside a coffin and summon a large boulder to then smash said coffin underground, acting as a gravestone. From here, a 3-second countdown begins. If the target can't escape the coffin after those 3 seconds, they are infected with the smallpox disease and killed. And that's all there is to it, really. The fact that there's a time limit involved and the fact that it can easily be manipulated, as seen by Mei and Ui, means I can't really put this domain any higher than B tier, I'm afraid. Anyway, I told you that would be a quick one, so let's move on to the next one, and we've got Naoya's Time Cell Moon Palace. This domain attacks the user on a cellular level. It does so by injecting the target with films of animation frames via the neck with its sure hit attack. From here, anyone who moves within the domain must abide by the 24 FPS rule of projection sorcery, or they will receive numerous bloody injuries with every movement as their cells are damaged. Because of this, the target is essentially frozen. This means that Time Cell Moon Palace is a guaranteed win more or less if you can't move at 24 FPS. The only reason Naoya actually lost was because Maki was present. Due to her lack of cursed energy, the domain treated her as a building rather than a participant, meaning that she could move outside of its set rules by avoiding its sure hit attack. And considering how rare people like Maki and Toji are in Jujutsu Kaisen, it makes this domain super OP and, in my opinion, S tier. Moving forward though, we've got Higuruma's Deadly Sentencing. This is the domain of Saul Goodman himself. Thus, as you'd imagine, it resembles a courtroom where the user and the target play the roles of prosecutor and defendant. Despite its name, violence is forbidden inside. It doesn't have a sure hit attack and instead forces those inside to follow the rules of Higuruma's curse technique. This allows him to prosecute the target with a shikigami called Judgment. First, Judgment will announce the charges against the defendant, which are actual crimes they may or may not have committed. Judgment automatically knows everything about everyone inside the domain, but this information isn't shared. The outcome of the trial depends only on the arguments presented by both sides. After the accusation is reviewed, the defendant is given one chance to defend their case. They are given 3 options: silence, confession, or denial. If the defendant chooses to deny the charges, they can lie in their statements. The defendant's goal is to dispel all doubt and be declared innocent by judgment. The prosecutor also has a chance to make a statement, but theirs is a rebuttal based on evidence submitted by judgment. The evidence submitted is not necessarily conclusive, and it will not be opened and shared with the defendant until after their statement, but the prosecutor will be informed of the contained information by judgment upon receiving the envelope. If found guilty, there are a few possible outcomes, such as the confiscation of their curse technique or the inability to control cursed energy. But the most severe kind of punishment is the death penalty. This gives Higuruma the Executioner's Sword, which kills any opponent without fail. However, if the defendant is found guilty without an open confession, they can request a retrial that judgment cannot deny, which is what Yuji did when accused of entering a casino underage. This then saw him charged with the death penalty for mass murder in Shibuya, but escaped punishment when the blame was given to Sukuna. When Sukuna was made to stand trial for this, he had his curse tool confiscated and was also given the death penalty. But the fact that there's an element of uncertainty attached to this domain in regards to what the target will be accused of, as well as the outcome, makes this domain a calculated risk, albeit a good one. And so for that, I will place it in B tier. Alright, moving on. The next domain expansion is Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine. Boy, oh boy, do we have a powerful one here. But that should be no surprise really. I mean, we are talking about the king of curses. He is a master of Jujutsu, meaning his domain is top tier as it is as equally refined as Satoru Gojo's. Befitting of its name, Malevolent Shrine creates an area centered around a small demonic Buddhist shrine. Pretty cool, if not at least badass. Malevolent Shrine's sure-hit ability relentlessly slashes apart anything until nothing but dust remains, via Sukuna's two types of slashing attacks, cleave and dismantle. This onslaught only ends when the domain is disengaged or Sukuna is so badly injured that he can't keep it up anymore. Sukuna can set which of the two attacks to use against specific types of targets, such as dismantle for inanimate objects and cleave for those with cursed energy. During the Shibuya incident arc, Sukuna unleashed Malevolent Shrine and completely decimated the city in his battle with Mahoraga. In order to take on this godly Shikigami, Sukuna sent his slashing attacks over a 140 meter radius. It targeted anything within that range with cleave and dismantle, damaging Mahoraga, slicing off Inumaki's arm, and of course slaughtering a lot of civilians in the process, causing poor Yuji Itadori to fall into a pit of despair. You are my special. Now, Sukuna also has the divine ability to expand his domain without closing the barrier to create a separate space. This creates a binding vow due to allowing an escape route from the domain that enables him to expand the effective range of the guaranteed hit up to a maximum radius of nearly 200 meters. Furthermore, unlike other domains which operate with an outer shell that can be destroyed, Malevolent Shrines cannot be destroyed by any normal means because of the lack of an enclosed barrier. The only way to destroy it is to injure Sukuna to the point where he can no longer maintain it. We saw in the battle with Gojo in Shinjuku that Sukuna cast his domain a total of 3 times. As I said, Malevolent Shrine is equal to Gojo's Unlimited Void in a clash, but that is only the case inside a barrier. Its range reached beyond Unlimited Void's barrier during the first clash of domains, meaning Sukuna could easily destroy it from the outside and hit Gojo with a sure hit attack. Later in the fight, Sukuna revealed that he can change the conditions of his domain with a binding vow, such as removing Malevolent Shrine's sure hit attack within Unlimited Void's effective range in exchange for increased power to counter Gojo's Limited Void's reinforced outer shell, destroying it a second time. They would later clash domains again, but with Sukuna being a fraction too late, meaning he took on damage and had to summon Mahoraga to escape. The thing is, this was Sukuna without his true Heian era form. Had he activated this transformation, this wouldn't have been an issue and it'd have landed another hit on Gojo. This is because in this form, his incantation speed is much faster, hence he would have cast Malevolent Shrine quicker. Now, it should really be obvious, but Sukuna's domain is undoubtedly an S tier one, alright? Like, there is nowhere else we can place this. Now, there's just a few domains left now, so let's see who we've got. Yorozu's Threefold Affliction. Very little is known of this domain as it lasted about 1 page before Sukuna bodied her, but we do know that this domain's sure hit attack applies to Yorozu's constructed items, which she makes using her curse technique. In her battle with Sukuna, she constructed a perfect sphere, a feat thought to be impossible. Once the domain was activated, the sphere would have killed Sukuna once she used it, as it is untouchable due to its infinite pressure. However, Sukuna countered it by summoning Mahoraga, which shatters the perfect sphere since it had already adapted to Yorozu's construction technique. Now, whilst I won't hold lasting just 1 page against the King of Curses against it, the fact that this domain's sure hit attack also relies on the user constructing separate items too makes it long to set up, thus it's in my opinion just a D tier domain. With that out of the way though, let's move on with Kenjaku's Womb Profusion. Anyone caught within this sure hit attack will be hit with an explosive force similar to that of Maximum Uzumaki. By capitalizing on Yuki's hesitance to open her own domain, Kenjaku activated his. It turned out that it was a barrierless domain, which was powerful enough to completely negate Yuki's simple domain, a technique created specifically for countering domain expansions. Whilst it's unknown exactly what this domain's sure hit attack is, Wound Profusion severely injured Yuki before Tengen dispelled the domain by targeting the edge of the sure hit attack's area of effect immediately after. Now, despite so little being known about this domain, the fact that it easily destroyed a special grade on the level of Yuki whilst also dispelling simple domain and proving difficult for Tengen automatically puts it in the upper tiers, and for that reason I will put it in A for now. Now this leaves us with 3 domains left: Uru, Ryu, and Yuta's. We're introduced to all 3 at the same time in a 3-way battle, but it's interrupted immediately so we don't actually see. Nonetheless, we do see Yuta's later on in action against Sukuna. It is mutual true love. This domain is truly built different and is in contention for possibly being the most broken in the entire series. Inside this area are a plethora of cursed tools, each embedded with a different cursed technique that Yuta has copied, which acts as the sure hit attack. This includes the like of Uro's Icebreaker, Inumaki's Cursed Speech, and even Angel's Jacob Ladder, one of the most overpowered curse techniques in the entire series. What's more is that in this domain, Yuta can use them endlessly. It forced Sukuna into activating Hollow Wicker Basket as a means to defend himself. In spite of that, Yuta still took one of Sukuna's eyes out. Now, it should not need much explaining as to why this domain is so broken, as usually using this many techniques would overload the user's brain unless you're an exception like Kenjaku. But inside this domain, the restrictions do not seem to apply to Yuta. This automatically sends it into the upper echelons of the tier list as it fundamentally breaks one of the laws of Jujutsu. Yuta was touted to be the next Satoru Gojo, and this domain amplifies that message tenfold. It has to be an automatic S tier domain. Now let me know in the comments down below what your top 5 domains in the entire series are. Also, if you're still around, maybe check out this video on your screen right now. YouTube thinks you're probably gonna like it.